Folks, there's a quote I want to share. The higher your energy level, the more efficient your body. The more efficient your body, the better you feel, and the more you will use your talent to produce outstanding results. This quote is by Tony Robbins. Folks, what is your metric of success? When you're at a crossroads of deciding whether you want to spend your energy and time in producing results, how do you evaluate what to do? Which direction to take? Today, we're going to dive into what the difference is between ROI, which stands for return on investment, versus ROE, return on energy. Which one do you gravitate towards? Let's find out. Let's cue the intro. Welcome to the Boom Vision Podcast, the show that empowers you to live an enriching life physically, mentally, and spiritually. I am your host, Benjamin Ye, and I created this podcast to give you perspectives on how to strengthen your mindset so that you can build optimal health, create aligned wealth, and connect with your higher self. It's all interconnected. Let's get to work. Hi, folks. Welcome back to episode 88 of the Boom Vision Podcast. For today's episode, I want to talk about one of our core pillars of the show, which is wealth. We all know that health is wealth, but how do you also measure wealth in your life? Is it the amount of zeros in your bank accounts? Is the amount of true friends that support your vision in life? What is your metric? And so for today, I want to share the difference between two metrics, ROI versus ROE. Now, in the financial world, the metric ROI, return on investment, is very heavily used. ROI, return on investment, the definition of it is the financial metric that measures the profitability of an investment by comparing its gain or loss to its cost. So what does that mean? The calculation equation to that is that it's net profit over cost of investment. So numerically, what's an example? Let's say you want to sell some goods in a local flea market and you invested over $500 buying the goods, renting a space, and spending a day selling the goods. And let's say in the reselling of it, you made $2,000. So your net profit is $2,000 minus $500, which is $1,500. So the equation for ROI would be $1,500 divided by 500, because 500 was your cost of investment. That equates to about 300%, or 3 times your initial investment. Now, that can be a pretty decent ROI depending on how much time you put into it. Most people use this metric to evaluate, do they want to spend the time and energy in taking on a new project, taking on a new business or new venture, or investing in whatever it may be. However, I want to introduce a different metric. What is ROE? ROE stands for return on energy. It's the net energy that you receive when you put in the investment of whatever the cost is to you. Time, money, energy, all the above. What is the net return on energy over the cost of that energy when you evaluate a project, a new business venture, an investment? Now, what is the difference between ROE versus ROI? I'll share this. Sometimes making $1,000, depending on how you make it, can have different energy expansions or contractions. Like, you can spend a whole day making $1,000, or you could spend an hour. So a short amount of time might have a higher ROI because you only had to spend an hour of your time to make that $1,000. But is it comparing apples and apples if that 1 hour you had to do is working with someone that is not respectful of your time, drains your energy, and it feels like you're working with someone that's pulling tooth and nail? Sure, you're making more money in that hour, but if you're not feeling like the energy is reciprocated, is that the same as making $1,000 working 8 hours, but you're doing something you absolutely love. Financially, if you look at it from an ROI perspective, return on investment perspective, the dollar amount you make per hour may not be as great spending a full 8 hours making $1,000. But is it worth it to deal with someone that you frankly don't want to be dealing with, even though it's going to net you more money? At what point is it worth it or not worth it for you? And so I want to share just a personal story that happened over this past weekend. The reason why I use the example of flea market is because over the past weekend, I actually spent a whole Sunday with my wife and a friend at a local flea market. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do that was because I have a bunch of things in my garage that my in-laws have stored. And right now it's just sitting in my garage. It's just collecting dust. And for the longest time, well over the last 2-3 years, I've always told my wife that, hey, one of these days, let's actually, either go to a local flea market and try to sell this stuff just to get able to move these things out of our space. And we won't know unless we try. So we finally put in the time and energy to actually work together with our friend in a local flea market. Now, what was the ROI? So if I look at purely numerical data, we spent probably 4 to 5 hours preparing, making sure what is the pricing of these things, how do you want to price it, how do you want to package it. There's a lot of prep work leading up to it. The day of for that flea market, we probably spent about a solid 8 hours going there to set up, spending a full day there selling, and then, spending the remaining hour cleaning up. And how much did we make? Well, if I deduct the rent that we paid, we made dollar amount probably a little over $80 for me and my wife. For 8 hours on a Sunday to make $80 between the two of us, that's a terrible ROI, right? I gotta be really honest with you. From a numerical standpoint, that's less than $10 an hour for two people. It doesn't make any financial sense. However, if I look at it from a ROE perspective, return on energy, man, I enjoyed the experience with my wife. I enjoyed the fact that we now have energy moving in the space of our house because my in-laws are allowing themselves to let go of things that don't serve them when someone else is willing to step up and help move the things that no longer serve in their life without resistance. So the mere fact that now they're allowing themselves a new chapter to be created, to bring more harmony and peace within the family. And frankly, for me to also start decluttering my garage, even though we didn't sell, we probably sold maybe 10% of our inventory. It wasn't a lot, but the fact that we took that first step, we allowed the energy to start moving rather than talk about it, actually doing it. That return on energy, the net energy that I've gained, that peace of mind I've gained, I could tell you right now, it is way above the $80 that we made. And so when I think about it in hindsight, I am so happy we did that because it was the first step that we took. It was a learning experience. And during that time, we had fun doing it. Was it tiring? Yes. Was I half-baked being half in the sun? Yes. But the ROE was far greater than the ROI. And that brought me joy. Now, there is something I want to say. And I'll use a different analogy on this. If someone is metaphorically in the middle of a swimming pool and they're having a tough time swimming and they feel like they're drowning, if someone came along and saw the situation and they're coming from a place of they want to help and they want to help them, and if they actually tell the person, hey, everything's going to be okay. Just take a deep breath. We're going to breathe it out and de-stress what you're going through. If I was in that swimming pool and I feel like I'm drowning and I feel like I'm about to, I'm barely surviving and someone's telling me to take a deep breath, I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the last thing I want. Either you're a lifeguard and you're going to come and help me, either throw me a life vest or a lifesaver, but don't tell me how to breathe when right now I barely can keep my head above the water, right? I understand that there's a time and place for everything. If you are in survival mode, you might weigh and value return on investment way more than return on energy. I get that. I really do. And I honor that. I'm not saying ROE is better than ROI. There's no judgment when I'm saying which one is which. I just want to bring awareness of what it is that in your current state of mind, your current state of energy, what do you value more? Do you recognize that? Is it serving you? Do you feel that having that metric will get you to the next level of where it is you want to grow? It's just giving different perspectives. And so with that said, what are this week's action steps? I just want you to ask a simple question for yourself. The next time you want to embark on a new project, on a new business venture, on possibly a new investment where you want to put your money and capital and energy into, I just want you to take a step back and just ask yourself one question. Instead of asking yourself, what's my return on investment on this venture or this investment? I just want you to ask yourself, what's my return on energy in this opportunity? I just want you to sit with that and see what unfolds. Because not all dollars are created equal. Not all time is created equal. And I just want you to see what unfolds for you when you ask yourself, what is my return on energy putting into this versus putting into something else? Because how it unfolds for you will give you a glimpse of what state you're really in. Are you in survival mode? Are you in neutral mode? Or are you in thriving mode? So final thoughts for today's episode. There's a quote I want to share. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. This quote is by Carl Jung. Folks, once I stopped continuing to look outside and use the same metric that my old paradigm, my old environment used to measure and value success, and instead, once I started looking inside to awaken what has been dormant, neglected, things that used to bring me joy, I truly started to awaken. And in my awakening journey, I allow myself the possibility to value ROE more so than ROI. And when I started doing that, my life started transforming to attract what it is I truly want in life versus chasing after it. And so I hope in today's episode, it sparks for you to look within, to feel if what you're currently valuing that measures success brings you positive energy and joy, or does it make you feel something different? So until next time, folks, be kind to yourself. Be in the light. Be you. Thank you so much for tuning in to my Boom Vision podcast. If you'd like to find out more about me and this podcast, head over to benjaminyeh.com. That's spelled BenjaminYeh.com. If you haven't already, click subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.